Hey, how's it going, everybody? It is Jazzy the Video Store Sasquatch here, and we are doing our Throwback Thursday movie. Took the week off last week for Memorial Day. Plus, we were done with Breaking or Better Call Saul and the Breaking Bad universe and everything. So, here we get a break here. Take a week off, recharge, and then go at it for this whole summer month. For these summer month movies coming. I have three new movies here to watch. I watched first one here is In the Grave, directed by Guy Ritchie, starring Henry Cavill, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Eliza Gonzalez. A covert team of elite operatives are living in the shadows when a ruthless despot steal $1 billion fortune. They're sent to take it back. An impossible heist that erupts in a deadly game of strategy, deception, and survival. Fisher Stevens is in this. Rosamund Pike is also in this. She's in two of the movies actually that I guess I saw this week. And then Carlos Bardem, and Carlos Bardem is from Mike and Nick and Alice, I think. One of the two is from Mike and Nick and Alice. Oh no, Eliza Gonzalez is, yes. So we just did a movie that she was in too not too long ago with Vince Vaughn. She's very good in this movie. I mean, this is just an action movie that like is completely explained to you the whole time by all the characters and everything that's going on, so you never get to watch anything for yourself. So that can kind of get a little annoying the whole time you're watching it. The people are telling you what they're doing, like literally, like, "Hey, we just took a bite of food and we did this and we did that and blah 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 and we bullshitted this and we bullshitted that." Like there's no mystery or suspense of to what they were doing or what was going on. I didn't really like that. I figured that Guy Ritchie would be like a little bit more on top of that. Like it's gonna be funny because the next movie I'm gonna say had not enough dialogue, and this movie had just way too much dialogue. So there has to be like some sort of sweet spot in there somewhere for these movies because this one was kind of ridiculous about everything that kind of spoon fed you as going on. Like people talk about streaming movies and all that crazy stuff. This is like way worse than that. I mean, it's literally every time you see something, every time something's happening, they are literally explaining it to you. So that is a little crazy. There, I've never really can't even remember the last time I've seen a movie like that. I know I've seen a movie like that before, and it was just like, whoa, dude, like, can I just watch the movie a little bit here? I don't need you talking to me. And like all three of them talk to you. Eliza Gonzalez, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Henry Cavill. So that got kind of annoying too. They're explaining all the little like minute parts of everything, like instead of just like kind of letting it happen. And then all of a sudden at the end we get the escape scene that it didn't seem like we were gonna get to. I don't know. I'd give this movie a D plus, maybe a C minus, just because like Guy Ritchie kind of trying to be nice, but like really this wasn't that good of a movie. And that is In the Grave, directed by Guy Ritchie. The next one here we're going to talk about came out next, and so we'll talk about them in order. And that is Ladies First, directed by Thea Sharrock, starring Sacha Baron Cohen, Rosamund Pike, and Fiona Shaw. A male chauvinist is transported to a matriarchal society, facing challenges from a formidable female version of himself, which is Rosamund Pike. And like that's kind of like one of the biggest holes in the movie is honestly that he did not really like kind of fall in love with Rosamund Pike. Fall in love with Rosamund Pike's character. He kind of fell in love with the character that she was playing as the matriarch, so she was kind of playing like a male version of him, so that's kind of how I fell in love. So that's kind of one of the little stupid plot holes there that just kind of ruined the whole movie for you. Second of all, the where it wanted to be shocking and funny, it wasn't, and that fell flat. And I think that's like what happens a lot in comedy today is they use curse words to kind of pull the point and make it like kind of a little bit try and seem a little bit more shocking than what they're saying actually is. And that and it just kind of falls flat, and that happens a lot in this movie. I didn't like the direction of the movie. I didn't like. I mean, I like some of the comedy just because Sacha Baron Cohen and showing up in as himself is just a funny person, and he kind of carries this movie, and he has to carry this movie because there's just not a lot of depth or anything to it. And like this movie's like 20 years too late too. This like a lot of these characters are just 1990 version of men. Like they're not even today's version of men or anything that we would see in anything else, and they're just purposely like purposely over the top. So it was, and it's supposed to be purposely over the top. So like I didn't like let that joke go over my head. It was just like it was over the top but not funny. I don't know the best way to explain it is that. Like in the end, and then in the end, like, I don't think it really proved the point that I was supposed to prove either, and I thought it did. And I think a lot of people think this movie, or they thought this movie was gonna be a lot maybe smarter or more of like a social jab or something at people, and it wasn't. I don't know. I'm not really speaking for people, but I feel like this one is like kind of got into its own head and its own weight and behind people, and that's how I got onto Netflix. I'd give it a D plus D, a solid D here. I mean, it wasn't very funny, and the like few funny parts weren't like hilariously funny. They were just like, oh yeah, that's a good joke, and the story is just it isn't behind what the message is behind. I don't think. And I think it's 20 years too late. This movie would have been a lot more provocative and a lot better 20 years ago than it is today as well. So that is Ladies First, directed by Thea Sharrock. Um, this last movie we're talking about came out this weekend is Star Wars: The Mandalorian and Grogu, directed by Jon Favreau, starring Pedro Pascal, Sigourney Weaver, Jeremy Allen White, just a tons more people too because it's a Star Wars universe. And once a lone bounty hunter, Mandalorian Din Djarin, and his apprentice Grogu embark on an exciting new Star Wars adventure. This is the dumbest, lamest thing I've ever heard to explain a movie before, and it explains why this movie is just so dumb and stupid. They're just like, well, we have a cool show here with the Mandalorian and Grogu. Let's just make it a 2-hour boring movie where they just constantly repeat the same kind of thing over and over again. Like 3 times they're in a prison or locked up some sort of way or helping a prisoner in some sort of way. 3 times they have to fight their way out of it into a thing, and then finally, like the big finale. Like I just this movie was not very well done. It just was rushed out. It really kind of disappoints me too because I really am a huge Star Wars fan. I know I don't really talk much about Star Wars in this channel or ever because it's so frustrating of how it was like so awesome to think 20 years ago when I was a kid coming in out of high school how man it'd be so awesome if we got all these cool Star Wars stories and then we get all these cool Star Wars stories and they're all just brought together by just money and greed and lameness and Disney and like just social acceptance and all the stupid shit that goes along with everything that kind of goes with that, and it's packaged into this like finely tuned corporate looking thing that that's not really what Star Wars is. And yeah, it's cool. It's a kid's show. I get it. I'm not a kid. I'm not gonna enjoy it as much as an adult as I guess. But I tell you what, like I liked the way they were going at one point in time with Star Wars, and the Rise of Skywalker happened, and then we got, I mean, a few good seasons of Mandalorian. I'm not gonna lie, I did like the Mandalorian. Ahsoka really wasn't too terribly awful. Obi-Wan hit and miss on several episodes, a little lame, but this goddamn movie here proves that just Disney doesn't either care, doesn't get it, or just knows that they're going to cash in, and it doesn't matter what the content that they have. They just had to have the content, and that's what we get here. And it's frustrating. I think that there are a lot of creative people who could do a lot of creative things, especially inside of a Star Wars universe where we do get like a bunch of Star Wars stories and a bunch of Star Wars adventures. Like you could almost do everything. Like have action adventure movies. You could have a horror movie into it. You could have like just like big epic movies, like like taking over parts of the galaxy and just the empire and stuff like this. And what we get is just this mind-numbing, dumb, stupid, repetitive movie that tries to make like just Jabba Hutt or it just brings in everything that doesn't really connect with the character that we really know, and just adds in all this stupid, just ridiculous stuff. And then we're just supposed to accept it because we just want 2 hours of peace and quiet. Not even 2 hours. We just want 2 hours of something, and then we just get this mind-numbing action sequence after action sequence with no dialogue really, and really just like a bare bones story is really what this is. I mean, it is bare bones, and it's trying to be bare bones. It's trying to be like a western into the thing, and it just fails so hard because they just were trying to do so much, and so many people touched this movie before it could even come out and had a piece of this movie before it could even come out that it didn't even have a chance, honestly. And that is what a lot of the problem with these big budget movies are these last like decade. Like just too many people are involved, and they all think that they know what's going on, and half of them don't, and half of them think that what could be it is just over exaggerated. And I don't know. I give this movie a F. Just I'm just gonna F it. Just F it. That is Star Wars, Mandalorian, Grogu, directed by Jon Favreau. Our weekend box office report here is Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Number one, of course. Like I said, it's gonna make a ton of money. It's just mind numbing garbage. 81.7 million for the weekend, so great weekend for it. I bet that's exactly what they wanted. They probably wanted 100, but I'm sure that when they add into the worldwide and everything, it is well over 100 million. The surprise hit here, Obsession with 24 million, 67 million total. Michael, 20.8 million this weekend with $201.3 million total, and the Devil Wears Prada is 12.7 million. And I did not write down the total, but I'm sure that's well over 100 and something $1 million. Let me see here. Um, think about this weekend for like the box office and like all the past weekends we've been talking about this. We barely get one or two movies that are over 10 million that I talk about. This one we have 5, which is kind of amazing just in itself. People went and saw movies this weekend, obviously, because it was Memorial Day. They had nothing better to do, and they had a 3-day weekend here. That's awesome. I really encourage people to go see movies. It's awesome to go to the movie theater and see the movies there. Here we go. I hit 3 buttons. $201.3 million total for Devil Wears Prada 2. I encourage it. I know that at times I've gone to theaters and complained just by the atmosphere, but overall, it's always more apt to laugh for comedies when you're with a group or like be scared when someone else is scared in the theater and stuff like that. Just the atmosphere itself can be worth going. So I do encourage people to go. We'll be going this weekend. And like I said, if we go, if I go, I think this weekend is, no, it's next weekend is He-Man. If I go to He-Man, I'll go Thursday. So that will actually be its own show. But this weekend we'll piggyback on a Throwback Thursday like we've been doing. And I just have just a shit ton of horror movie content to go over. I took the weekend, a long Memorial Day weekend, and did just a shelf hunt of horror movies and got a movie from every decade from 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010, and today, and a new one from today, Passengers. So that is what we'll be going over tomorrow. Thank you guys very much for watching, and please have a good rest of your day or night. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Comment your top movie picks for Throwback Thursday in the comment section. And see you next time in the cave.